Oh man. As you can see, there's some leaks. With this setup, we had to pull the whole body off. Well, we don't have to. We're going to. We're going to replace the intake manifold gaskets, rear main seal, and the oil pan. Hopefully, that'll fix all these leaks. It just started, so hopefully, stay tuned. Okay, so what I did was I rerouted this hose from the core support back here, and I routed it just from the engine block to here. I'm gonna leave the radiator connected, well, so I don't have to drain the tranny fluid or radiator fluid or anything. I'm gonna leave the radiator with the motor. So I disconnected the core support, it should just stay there. But I found, look at that, look how chewed up that is. I routed it, I put it back where I routed it, and it has been hitting on this fan for the alternator, or whatever, sprocket or whatever. So it's been getting chewed up by that, which I wonder if that has caused some power issues in that regard. So I got that, got the electronics disconnected from in here. So now I have to bring the switches and wires out through down there, right where all those wires are running. I have to actually pull all those out. We should be good. Once that's done, then it is just the transmission linkage and the T-case and the steering. Those linkages, and then I think it's ready to unbolt from the frame and lift it up. So let's hope I didn't forget anything. Okay, so I got everything disconnected. I just have to get something to hold up this brake fluid reservoir. That way when I disconnect it, I don't want to have to bleed the brakes again. So I'm just disconnecting this, and I'm gonna try to like put a 2x4 or something and like support it. That way the brake lines are good and everything's fine. I don't have to bleed the brakes. That's the theory. So that's what I'm gonna do there. I still have to do basically the mechanical disconnecting. So I have to do the body mounts, transmission and T-case, and the steering column. I had forgotten that I ran the wiring harness, this from the starter side or from the engine side, from this side, alternator and starter, through the firewall. So I had to climb under there, disconnect all of that, and the distributor, alternator, all of that, and then pull it through the firewall. So that's all disconnected. The whole interior is disconnected. The water temp and oil pressure gauge is disconnected. All the switches are done. So I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'll see you on the next section, but I'm going to do the rest tomorrow because it's getting late and I got to work. So appreciate it, guys. We'll see you on the next one. All right, folks, day 2. We are looking at disconnecting the transmission shifting mechanism that I made, and then the T-case. And then we got to support the brake lines because I'm just going to take that reservoir off, right? So you're going to have to figure out how to do that. I was thinking just a piece of wood or something and like a strap or something, and that would be good, right? So, and then I believe it's ready to come up. So I'm going to get on that. I'm going to just kind of do a time lapse on this like I've been doing. Oh, and then I need the steering linkage as well. But I'll update you as I go. Let's go. Okay, run through this with me. We got the electronics disconnected. We got the oil pressure gauge and the water temp disconnected. We have the lights all disconnected, batteries disconnected. Transmission shifter is disconnected now. I don't know why I called it the transmission shifter, but the shifter's disconnected. The T-case shifter, maybe that's why. The T-case shifter's disconnected. This is next, this wire. You separate this wire from all of that because the body is going up and this is not. So I need to get this negative cable or positive or whatever. I need to get that disconnected. And I think it's ready. I think that's it. So let's get that disconnected. Oh, brakes. Can't forget the brakes. Need to do the brake reservoir. And then it's ready. Okay. I just got all the bolts undone from the body. We're getting ready to lift it. And as I was taking the last bolt out for the bed, I remembered the fuel tank is actually connected or is secured in the bed of, so essentially the body of this truck, and the fuel lines obviously connect to the frame. So I have to actually get in there and disconnect the fuel lines so that I don't rip those apart. That would have sucked. So I gotta do that real quick, and then we'll be good. Everything else, I think, is disconnected. Okay, so it is out, ready to rock and roll. Oh my goodness. So, looking at this back here, because I know my valves were leaking at one point, my valve covers, and I never cleaned it afterwards, so I think this is good. But it looks like this was damaged. I mean, it doesn't look like it. It is damaged, and it's actually cracked. So that's probably where part of the transmission leak is coming from. But also, because of that, this isn't sitting in there all the way. So that's leaking tranny fluid like mad right there. So that's gonna have to be replaced. But because of how little this is actually leaking, but how massively wet it is down here. I mean, we have like drips of oil. It's not gonna be anything up here, which is really good to know. So that means I don't have to pull this off. I don't have to disconnect all that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect the drive shaft, disconnect the transmission, get that out of the way, you know, on the front drive shaft. We're gonna pull all that off so I can do the rear main seal and get that taken care of. Hopefully, the hardest part is getting the transmission and everything lowered safely and so on and so forth. Crossing fingers. So I'm actually gonna be talking to a shop, getting this replaced, because there was a shop that worked on it that did my flywheel that I think damaged this. So we're gonna get that taken care of that way. So let's jump on this thing. Now check this out, front drive shaft. I knew it was shot, but I did not know it was shot that bad. Holy mackerel. There's all the bearings. This part even stayed in there. Holy mackerel. All right, well, that's getting rebuilt. Okay, so this is where we're at. So all I have left to do is disconnect the transmission cool lines, the dipstick right here, and the bell housing. and then drop it off or drop it down. I'm gonna try to keep these two connected, just use the cross member, like use a jack and a piece of wood or something, and then just lower it down, you know, disconnect it, lower it down. That way I can get in there without having to do too much with that. The less I have to pull apart, the better, in my opinion. So we'll see if it works. We'll see if it does well. I was actually hoping that I'd be able to start this with it outside of the truck, and after I repair the leaking area, which is probably the rear main seal from what it looks like. So I was hoping that I'd be able to run it just to make sure it's not leaking afterwards, but I'm not gonna be able to do that. So we'll do this later. We'll get this next show on the road. So I think I'm gonna make this as the part 1 to this. And so I think I'll edit this here and get it posted. So be sure to like, share, subscribe. Appreciate the support, guys. Remember Patreon, hit up Patreon. It's in the link below. And then I also on renegadeheadquarters.com, also in the link below, there's apparel and things like that. So appreciate the support. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to y'all later. We'll see you on the next one.